Hi guys, welcome to Digital TechJoint. In this session, I'm going to show you the practical implementation of SignalR in ASP.NET Core MVC application. I'll be using Visual Studio 2022 and .NET Framework 6.0. Now, before we get deep dive into the practical session, I would like to just walk you through a couple of slides and explain what exactly is SignalR. So, SignalR is a framework that is inbuilt in the ASP.NET Framework .NET 6.0 that enables you to do a real-time communication with your connected clients on the browser, as well as the client can also connect to the server. So let us go through a couple of slides. So what exactly is ASP.NET SignalR? So SignalR is a library for the ASP.NET developers that enables them to add real-time web functionality to their applications. So basically you will be able to push messages on a real-time basis to all your client connected on the browser instantly, and this will enable that the server will not wait for the client to request for any data, which was a traditional way of communication in the past. Now, why do we use SignalR? So SignalR basically will be used in those applications where there's high frequency of updates required given to the connected clients. For example, these are just a couple of scenarios and use cases that I like to throw out, but you can come up with many use cases for SignalR. So the first is, assuming you have an e-commerce portal and there are already around 100 to 200 clients already browsing your e-commerce site, and you could like to just broadcast a new product that is added on the e-commerce site and display some discounts or some deals to your connected customers. So from that admin portal, you can then add this functionality and use SignalR to broadcast this message to all your connected customers. Similarly, we have a typical example of Uber where you ask for a cab and then you are able to see the cab coming to your location in real-time basis. So then there is something called broadcasting real-time message to all your connected users. Notification. Now, I'm sure you all have your Facebook account, and while you're browsing a Facebook account, you will be able to see the notification popping up on your extremely right top corner without your page getting refreshed, or whether you have to refresh without you having to refresh your page. So very seamlessly these notifications are displayed with the number of count of notification without you have to do anything. Similarly, you can use it in your suppose assuming you have a sales dashboard and you would like to see the real-time leads that are generated, as well as you like to allocate this real-time lead to your sales guys who will be on the browser or on the app, and the moment you do that, you will get a notification. Then the last example which I just jotted down is the chat application, and then the games application that requires a real-time frequency of update between the client and the server. So these are the couple of examples and use case that SignalR come as an handy tool to implement it. Now this is just an high-level flow of what is happening, and you can see that in SignalR there is a concept called hub. So basically hub is a center point where communications happen between the server as well as the client. So we can understand this when we are doing practical sessions, and before we end up this theoretical session, please understand SignalR uses the following technology. It uses WebSockets, it uses server sent events, and it uses long pooling. Now it does not use all this technology to do the communication. It depends upon your browser and the environment where your SignalR is getting implemented and what environment the client is using. So basis the best alternate options out of this given techniques, SignalR use whatever it is best and then send the communication instantly. Now, as I mentioned, these are the techniques. I would just like to go through each technique once and then we deep dive into the practical session. So what are WebSockets? WebSockets are basically a full duplex communication between the client and the server, which uses a TCP connection. And then there is server sent events, where the server sent events are when the page automatically gets updated from the server and without having client to update it. So this is one of the techniques. And the last one is the log pulling, where basically is a technique used to push information to the client as soon as possible on the server. So as a result, the server does not have to wait for the client to send a request. So these are the techniques, underlying techniques that SignalR is using. And finally, let me show you the demo that we are going to collectively do it practically and implement it using SignalR. So once again, like to highlight the prerequisites. I'm going to use Visual Studio 2022 and .NET Framework 6.0. SignalR library is already included in the server-side component, so you don't have to explicitly go and add this library from the NuGet package or install it. But however, having said that, you will have to still go ahead and install and deploy the client-side library of SignalR, which I will show it to you during the demo. Let me walk you through the demo. So this is a page that we created, which basically will be sending broadcasting messages to all the user. So the two capability. Basically this project has two capability. One is broadcasting message to all the users connected on the hub. Second is, if you want to send message to a particular browser, a particular user, then even that is being implemented in this project. Let me show that. Let me create a copy of this session, copy the URL. This is the second user. And let me also add one more user. So you see there are 3 connected users in my hub, and I'm going to send a message to all from digital TechJoint, message to all users, including this browser. So when I click on send, okay, when I click on send, you can see all the browsers have got the messages. Now if I want to send specifically to this browser, how will I do that? So I need to know the browser ID, the unique session ID. So in order to do that, I have created one more page that I'll show you during our session, and that's show connected users. So this is one more page that I developed it, and this shows you the unique ID of the browser. So this is a browser ID, that is the third one, this one, and I'll be sending this. So I've just pasted the username. So I have used a session ID, but definitely you can map this session ID with the proper name. So in the backend you can use this unique session ID, and for the front end you can create a username. So typically in the application you can extend it further by adding the registration and login, and once he does the registration, you can store this unique ID for the user in the database, and whenever he logs in, he'll have the unique ID, and then you can do the communication between all the browsers. For now, I'm showing you the code. So basically this is a browser session ID for this browser, the third one, and I say sending message only to you. You notice that this message will be displayed over here. So when I click, see, you can see it's uniquely displayed over here, and it is not displayed over here. So this is what we are going to develop in a practical session, where you have the capability of sending the notification to all the connected user, or else you will be able to create an admin console where you will be able to send a notification only to a particular user. You can extend the same project by creating a chat application where you can show all the user connected, like I have shown you, all the session ID connected on to your hub, and then you can select any one session ID and start chatting with them. We can also do this using the same sample codes. So guys, this was a project that I'm going to do it, and let's go ahead and create a project. Let's have a new project, and we'll select ASP.NET Core MVC controller, click on next, and I say SignalR project. So I click on next, select .NET 6.0, uncheck configure for HTTPS as of now because we are not using any digital certificate right now. So our project is created. Now the first thing we are going to do is that, as I mentioned, server-side code is already included in your SignalR. So server-side. So basically, if you go and say using Microsoft.ASP.NET code and SignalR, so this is already included. Server-side code is already included, so you don't need to include this library. Now what we are going to do is that we will be first making go ahead and include the client-side library. Right click on your project, say add client-side library, select Unpack, which is a Node package manager website from where you can download all the Node package manager libraries, and here you need to specify the library. So in this case I say @Microsoft/SignalR @latest. It's SignalR. Okay, so Microsoft @SignalR @latest. So look at, now there are a lot of functionality which will be pulled in, but right now I will not make any changes over here and install everything. So basically this is the path where it will go and install. So www, and we have this path over here. So what we are going to do is that install, instead of installing this, we just say www root js/ and then we say SignalR. So we are basically installing in this path www root/js/SignalR, and we click on install. So we get a restore. The data is the library is already installed. So we click on root and there is a JS folder, and then we can see SignalR is already deployed with all the necessary libraries and resources to work with this SignalR component. So we have installed a client component. Now let's go ahead and add our main hub class. So for that, right click on the project. First you need to add a folder called hubs. So inside the hub you can add a class, you can add multiple class, and these multiple class will act as a channel for sending communication between the client and the server. So I name this class as connected hubs. So this is my class, and the first thing I'm going to do in this class is refer the using Microsoft.ASP.NET code SignalR, and then I'm going to, this particular class will inherit hub. Okay, so this is a class which actually will be connecting once the user connected. It will make a note of the user, and it will also deactivate once the browser is closed, and then finally this class will send message to all the connected clients as well as to a specific user. So we will go step by step. So we will create this class. First we will add a code to just send message to all the users. So for that, what we are going to do is that we will write a method called send message. So we say public async. Remember, SignalR is an asynchronous method of communication, so we'll have to use async, and task send message. So this is a method, and then this will use user and then string message. Okay, and so basically what this line of code will do is that await clients dot on dot send async and takes the user and the message. But before that, you need to add one more parameter called receive message. Now this can be anything. I'll tell you what is this doing. So basically, this is a server side code which will actually, this is hub is, as I mentioned, it's a single source of station where you will get all your messages and it will route to the respective client. Now receive message is that a client side code which we will be writing, which will receive the message and show that message in the browser. So this can be anything. It can be receive message or client message or anything. This is just a name, and then after this name we have the username and the message that will be passed. So this is a single line of code that will send all the message to your connected user in the hub. So this is a server side code. Now let's go ahead and add the client side code. But before we add the client side code, let's go ahead and add the the page where user can enter the username and the message and click on the send button. For that, what we are going to do is that we are going to use the existing home index page, and we are going to remove this, and I've got the HTML code which I'll paste it. So this is an HTML code, and these are the JavaScript library which will be creating it. So this is the HTML code. So what does this code do is basically, I'll just run and show it to you. It has a username as I showed. It's an input. A username will be entered, then there will be a message input, and then there's a send button. And these are the libraries which are referring. So we'd have to refer this SignalR library, client side library, which I installed it. And this is a library which I'm going to create now, client up. So I'm going to create this library in the same JS folder. So if you go over here, so this is the library. You have to refer this library, SignalR library, which is JS SignalR, and then there is this folder, and then there's a reference. So in the same way, I'm going to just right click on JS folder and say add and new item, and I'm going to select web, and then I'm going to select JavaScript. Yeah, so JavaScript, and I'm going to name it as client up. So this is a client, this is a JS that is referred in that page, which will actually send communication to all. Now here what we need to do is that we need to refer, we are going to write use strict because we are going to use, and then we are going to say where connection equals to new SignalR. I will just do one thing. I will just copy this code so that it is easier. So this is a single line of code. Okay, so I'll just explain this code to you guys. So the first line over here is basically you use this keyword so that you make sure that nobody is, like, your code does not have any variable which is not defined and used. So once you add this tag, then you say where connection, and you say new SignalR.up connection builder with URL and connected hub. So connected hub is nothing but, as I mentioned, this particular line is actually creating a connection of SignalR from the client in this hub folder which I created. So there's an hub folder, and this is a class that is referred. As I told you, this class is a main class that will be actually sending messages to all your client, and this is a client side code which will be invoked by the client side. This is a connection creation. Once a connection is created, so this is the connection that will receive listen to this receive message and function which has a username and message, and then finally it will display this in the div, the message and the user and the what message is sent. Okay, whenever this method is invoked. This is a standard method, connection.on, and then this is a connection.start. When SignalR connection is connected, this method is enabled, and if this method is not already enabled, it will disable the button, send button. And then this is the last piece of code that is invoked when the client clicks on the send button. So if you look at this code, as I explained in this HTML code, we have a user input, we have a message input, we have a button, and then below we have message list where the actual message is displayed in a bulleted format. So this is a message ID. If you see UL ID message ID. Now in the same code, whenever client clicks on the send button, event is added to click the button click, and it will fetch the username from the page. Then it will fetch the message, and then it will say connection. This connection, SignalR connection dot invoke send message. The invoke send message is part of the up, and it will call this method. And when it calls this method, it will take the parameter, the user, and the message from the client browser and send it to all the connected clients. Clients.all. So that's all the connected clients. So this was a code, a simple code to send message to all. I'm just going to run it, but before we execute this code, okay, we have to add some settings in our program files and tell the project that we are going to use a SignalR. So first we are going to using SignalR project.hubs. We're going to use this, and then we are going to say builder.services.add SignalR. Okay, this two part, and finally just above the app.run, you're going to say app.map path map up. It's map up. Okay, and then we are going to pass in the connected hub class which we created, and slash connected hub. So we have basically enabled this connection hub to our project file. We have first added the capability of SignalR service in our project, and then we have mapped this connection hub to the project, which actually has a method which inherits hub class and then adds a method to send message to all. So this was a code. Now let's go ahead and see things in action. So right now in this project I have not added the capability to send message to specific user. Now this project will actually send message to all. We will shortly add that capability also. Okay, so our page is loaded. Let's create one more instance. Control C, Control M, and Control V. Enter. So this is second instance. Let's go ahead and create one more instance. Control N, Control V. Enter. So there are three instances that I have created. Now let us go ahead . Okay, so I say digital TechJoint message to all. Now click on send, will invoke the client side library. So already the event, so the moment I click on send button, the first thing happened was it invoked this client up, and then it created a SignalR connection, which is the second line in this code, and then it invoked the send button, and it is invoked the send button, and it is called the send message method in the connection hub, for which we have the debugger was set on, and now the code is come. If you look at the name of the user and the message, now client all send sync, it has received the message, this is the message. Now it is send the message to all. So the moment I click on continue, you'll be able to see message in all the browsers. Okay, so I'm not able to see. Just hold on. clients all send receive message, receive message, and then the send message. This is the method send message. Let me execute it once again and see where is the problem, because I was not able to see the message. This is one, so I just copy this URL, paste one more instance. Okay, let me just message to all. Yes, so we are able to see all the. Let me create one more instance. Okay, so we should be able to see message here also. Sending message to all. Yes, so we are able to see the messages will be sent to all the connected browser. If you want, I'll just create one more instance. This is the fourth instance, and now I'm sending the message to all 4 users. You should be able to see the message to all the 4 users. I click on send. Yes, you are able to see all the 4 messages. So we were able to complete the project successfully by implementing a code that sends message to all the connected users. Now let's go ahead and implement the code where we want to send message to only one specific user out of all the users. So that will incur a small change in your hub class. So you go to your hub class and then you write a code over here that will send message to a particular user. For that, first thing you need to do is that we need to capture user ID, unique session user ID, for all the users connecting to our hub. So let's go ahead and add a class. As connected hub user, connected hub. So let's use some other, because we already have a connected hub. So connected users, let's say connected users. Okay, so we have created a class called connected users, and we're going to add a static class. Let's say public static list string my connected users. Okay, so this is my static library which will store the users getting connected to my hub. So this is one part. Now second is we want to give the capability to user to see the connected users. But before we do that, let's again go to our hub class, and if you right click on the hub and go to definition, you'll be able to see 2 virtual methods which can be overrated. One is on connected and on disconnected. We are going to use these 2 methods to capture the users getting connected to our hub. So let's go to our code. So let us write. So let me just once again go to the definition. So let me go to the definition and just copy on connected sync. Public override on connected sync. So this method we are overriding, and here we need to just mention. So I'm going to use the class that I defined. So it's SignalR dot connected user. So this is a class which I also SignalR project dot connected users. So I don't think so we don't require to create the instance. Just say connected users dot my connection users dot add, and we are going to use contest dot connection ID. So we are going to add this. The moment somebody connects to our hub, we are going to store that into our connected user my connected string list object. Similarly, we can say public override task, public override, and I'm going to use disconnected, and then I'm going to say copy the same piece of code, but instead of add, we are going to say remove. These code will enable us to store the records connected user and disconnected user in the string. Now the important code over here is that to send message to the user. So what are we going to do? We are going to write a small piece of logic where we are going to say if there is no user ID defined, if the user ID is empty, okay, if the user ID is empty, then we are going to use this line of code. Else, if the user ID is not empty, then we are going to write await clients dot client, and then pass the user, which is passed in the parameter, and then use this line of code. Got it? This is the only piece of code we need to write in order to send to a specific user. Now if you look at the code, we have code that is already one of the method called connected async, which will add the user to our list object. This will remove the user from the list object, and send message is the same. It will still invoke, client will invoke the send message, but here it will check if the user is empty, it will send it to all. If the user is not empty, it will pass to only this particular client. Now let's go ahead and in our home controller, and add a method which will show you all the connected users. Show connected users, and this will return view. Okay, let's right click on this, say add view, select empty, show connected users or user. Let me just check users. Okay, so here I've added. So what are we going to do in this view? We are going to display all the connected user ID so that it enables the admin to select that user ID and send a message to that particular instance or to that particular browser. So let's write a simple code over here. So we are going to say, we'll just refer the class SignalR project dot connected user, and we say div class. We'll have an header over here. Online connected user list. Okay, and then what we are going to do is that we are going to loop in the class and fetch all the connected user. dot connected user my connection, and we are going to show it in the list format, bulleted format. So we just say @user. So this piece of code is ready. So this will simply show you the list of users. So let's go ahead and just debug it, or we can just run it directly. I've explained the code, so let's go ahead. So this is one instance. We say copy, and then we say new instance. We create a new instance. We say control and we create one more instance. So there are 3 users connected to our hub. Okay, this is the first one, this is the second one, and this is the third one. Let us just send a message to all. So we'll just make sure that the existing enhancement of the code has not disturbed. So we can see the message is sent to all. Now since the code is worked, since the user is empty, it is sending message to all. Now let us go ahead and open our admin page. Say Control N, Control V, and we say show connected users. Okay, so this is show connected users. Got it. So I just typed in the wrong URL. It is home show connected user. If you notice, these are the users who are connected to the browsers because there are 3 instances. Let us go ahead and copy the last instance ID, which is this one browser, and go to a first one, enter the username as this, and say sending message to third user. Okay, so this is our admin console. Let's push this down, and the message should appear over here. Yes, see, if you notice, the message got only appeared over here, not over here. So it's a vice versa. You can send a message now. I can copy the user session ID, go to the third browser and send a message, received your message, to the first browser. So see, you notice the message is displayed over here. So you can use the same concept now in this in most of the articles for SignalR, and you will see that many of the users are using the first method and displaying the message to all the browsers, but they have not clearly mentioned and explained in such a simple format on how to send message to a particular user, like creating a admin page where you can display all the session IDs, and these are the concepts which I have bought so that it is easier for you to implement in a real project. So what have we done? We created a hub class, we created a client library, we created a JS file, and we created a sample small page which is taking input of user message and sending message to all the connected users as well as to a single user. As I understand, in my channel I never share any source code because I want every user to opt in and walk through and do the practical session while they watch the video, so that they have a better understanding and gauge over the code. However, for this project I will definitely upload the source code in GitHub so that you can download it and check my source code and understand the entire implementation. So guys, I hope you really liked the videos. Please subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to click the bell icon so that you can come to know once any new videos is released. And please like my videos, share my channel with your friends and tech buddies. Help me to grow my channel, and I will come up with more series on Blazors, how to implement Blazors, and AWS certification very soon. So be connected, and thank you for your time.